Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Delegate Edith Patterson, Chair of the Charles County Delegation. Today is Friday, January 29th, 2021. I'd like to welcome you to the Charles County Delegation meeting. This is the first for the 2021 legislative session. Before we begin our meeting, I'd like to offer a moment of silence in memory of Senator Mike Miller, former president of the Maryland Senate and member of the Charles County Delegation. A moment of silence. Thank you. I'd also like to welcome and acknowledge Senator Michael Jackson, representing District 27B, who is also attending our Charles County meeting for the first time. Senator Jackson.
Thank you very much.
Today's agenda will focus on the Charles County legislative bills and their status in the drafting process, along with information from the legislative members. And in addition, you will note we're pleased to welcome Charles County Commissioner President Ruben Collins and Commissioner Thomasina Coates.
And I think Commissioner Bowling seems to be here as well.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We welcome Commissioner Bowling. Before we begin or start with the bills, I'd like to, let's begin with the delegation members who will share information regarding their committee. So Crystal, if you will take that down for right now. The delegation members will share information about the bills they're sponsoring and any committee that that they're serving. So I'm going to begin with Senator Ellis. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Patterson. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for being here, folks listening back in Charles County. I'm Arthur Ellis, representing District 28 in the Senate of Maryland. I serve on the committee covering education, health, and environmental affairs. And some of the big bills that we are working on right now, as a matter of fact, this afternoon, we'll be voting on the HBCU settlement bill, the Historically Black College and University, in my committee. And that's very historic action to settle that lawsuit, longstanding lawsuit with over $500 million. And so it passed through the Budget and Taxation Committee yesterday in the Senate overwhelmingly, and it's coming to us in the Education Committee this afternoon. A couple other big bills we're working on. We spent a lot of time on SRO roles of responsibility, the school resource officers. I put that bill in, my committee heard that bill a few days ago. We had quite a few witnesses from Charles County. Those mothers showed up in force saying we need to rein in and to control what these SROs do, because data shows that our children, our Black children, are disproportionately targeted by SROs. And so it's not all nice and sweet. And so we have to look at that as legislators. And we spent a lot of time on that bill a few days ago. We have so many other bills. As an assistant deputy majority leader, I work on help crafting the COVID relief bill that came out of the Senate. Well, we're working on it. It was announced over $500 million addition to what the governor had. We put it on that bill, including support for our community colleges, CSM, folks who get laid off. So many of our restaurant workers are laid off. And so this bill will allow them to go back to school and retrain. If they want to become a truck driver, nurse's aide, whatever. Our great Southern University College of Southern Maryland offer a lot of these programs. We want to help these folks with scholarships to retrain. So we're doing so many important pieces of legislation in my committee and here in the Senate. Also say along with Senator Jackson, welcome him as my colleague in the Senate. It's good to have you here, sir. And I tell you, we're working together closely to work on some of our issues in Charles County and regional and statewide. And some of the big issues my colleagues and my constituents are upset about is the appointment of Bill Dotson to the judge of Orphans Court. I've put a hold on that nomination and it will go nowhere. And so we got the message on that yesterday from the Senate President's office, and the governor will be notified today. We will not approve Bill Dotson for the Orphans Court. So that's breaking news, folks, right here on our meeting this morning. Okay, I have some more other folks coming up before me from the county. And as senator, we have a right to request a hearing on some nominees for different posts here in the state of Maryland. And so one thing I know Sheriff Troy Berry is coming up for appointment to important judicial board. I know my colleagues have some issues with some of the positions Sheriff Berry have taken up here in Annapolis. So I'm saying is whatever your position is, I consider Troy a good friend and everything like that, but this is not personal. If you have concerns, colleagues, about any issues taken and what I should do with this, please reach out to me within 2 days. Email me, please, and let me know what I should do. And so I will go forward and work with my colleagues on what you suggest. I'm here to serve the citizens of Charles County and the citizens of Maryland. I could go on forever, but I know my time is limited, so I yield back the rest of my time, Senator or Delegate Patterson.
Thank you very much, Senator Ellis. And one good thing about live streaming is you get current and up-to-date information. Thank you so much. Senator Jackson, would you share information about the committees you serve on and any legislation that you want to promote?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. As we all know, I have sort of been on a whirlwind over the last probably month and a couple of days with the appointment. Thank you to Charles County for sending my name up to succeed Senator Miller. In my transition from the House to the Senate, all of my House bills have pretty much been stripped from me. Thank you, Delegate Davis, for picking up the SMATIC bill. So there will be a number of changes regarding committee work that I did on the House, where I served as Vice Chair of Appropriations, the Chair of Joint Oversight Committee on Pensions, which Delegate Proctor now serves on. There will also be, if it hasn't already occurred, a change with the Joint Committee on Cybersecurity, which I chaired as well. So there are a number of bills that I had regarding cybersecurity, pensions. One I will mention, what you'll see this year is a bill that adds a COVID-related death to the presumption of line of duty death for employees dating back to March of last year. And the committee has committed to work on a workers' compensation component to that going forward. I think that's going to be a very good bill. There's an income tax modification for military and public safety where we're continuing to ratchet that up. I am going to jump on with the Senate sponsor, and that bill has been transferred over to a House sponsor as well. And lastly, I'll say, before lastly, let me just say there's a public safety article document that we submitted last year to judiciary that did not make it through due to COVID. That stems from our public safety and police work group of 2016. That completes the task there as we move forward. So that bill will be coming through shortly. And I am currently assigned to judicial proceedings in the Senate. We have no subcommittees here. However, our priorities, as you might imagine, are police reform. So we're looking forward to working with everyone going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I am I sit on Judiciary Committee across the hall, across the road from JPR where Senator Jackson is. I sit on the Public Safety Subcommittee and the Juvenile Law Subcommittee. So anything that has to do with either of those comes through my subcommittee. I also am the subcommittee chair for the Criminal Justice Subcommittee of the Legislative Black Caucus. And that has led me to help over the interim talk about what the Legislative Black Caucus was going to do regarding criminal justice reform and police accountability. And as a result of that, I am the sponsor of one of the use of force bills in the House this year, the Black Caucus's priorities in the area of criminal justice and police accountability are the repeal of the LEOBR, use of force, statewide use of force, and the Maryland Public Information Act, expansion of the Maryland Public Information Act. Some of the bills that I have, I have a strong interest in criminal justice and police reform for many, many years. But as Senator Ellis already mentioned, I co-sponsored the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit Bill. I'm really excited about that. Under Senator Ellis's leadership, we've got that bill has been heard in the Senate and in the House already. And it is also a transit caucus priority. So we're sitting well, as well as we can sit right now, as people are claiming that there's no money. But he is excited about it. I'm not as excited but yeah, he pushes hard, as you can see. I do have an education bill, lots of criminal justice bill. A lot of things that have come to my attention are about the criminalization of poverty, which is another niche that I've been working with. I've got some bills regarding losing your driver's license for non-driving offenses. It seems illogical to me. And we all know in Charles County, if you don't have a driver's license, you can't work, you can't go to the grocery store, you can't do anything because we are a rural county. We're growing, but you can't do anything in Charles County without it. So those are some of the things that I've been working on. I'm really excited for this session. I guess Delegate Patterson will talk more about the local bills, or do you want me to talk about those? And that's it. If you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge the fact that the senators, as well as the delegates, are only giving you a small snippet of the number of bills that they are sponsoring and what they entail. So we're going to move to next Delegate Wilson, followed by Joe Ken, who will represent Delegate Proctor. Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Delegate CT Wilson. I'm here representing District 28 in Charles County. I'm the chair of the House Veterans Caucus for the state of Maryland. I am also the chair of the Southern Maryland Delegation. I'm a member of the much coveted Economic Matters Committee, and we cover power and energy, banking, insurance, liquor laws, as well as business laws. And I am the chair of the subcommittee, Business Regulations Subcommittee, also known as the graveyard, because a lot of bills go in, but not a lot of bills come out. But we, in addition to that, I have probably, much to Delegate Davis's chagrin, about 25 bills, most in judiciary. Bills are such as on stopping procedures, knowing your rights, making sure that when policemen stop you, that they have to identify themselves. They have to give their badge number, and they're not allowed to ask, do you know why I'm stopping you, but instead tell you why they're stopping you via traffic stop or even interfering with your daily progress. Trying to get it back down to the protect and the serve side, meaning when you go to McDonald's, the first thing they do is they call you sir and ask you your owner because you paid their salary. Same thing applies to officers. I have a search warrant bill to make sure that they put safety of the officers as well as people inside the building over the collection of evidence, hoping that's being done during the day, daylight hours, and making sure there is the knock and announce, because it's not just a no knocks, but the knock and announce actually gives the individual time to open the door. Instead of worrying about them flushing cocaine down a toilet, let's worry about somebody getting shot because you kicked the door in. I have many child abuse bills. I have a juvenile questioning bill, which basically I think it's already in, but I didn't know if it was, so I dropped it. Making sure that officers cannot question a juvenile. If you are an infant under the law that cannot contract, that cannot get married, can't do all these things, you should not be allowed to give implicating statements without your parents and an attorney. And I do know that sometimes there are exigent circumstances. And if that's the case, that those statements can only be used in juvenile proceedings and never in an adult proceeding. I also have a business procurement law, which is very important. It's part of the speaker's Black agenda, ensuring that we do much better with our state laws. As we found out with our good old bridge built in Charles County, there is a wonderful way to build an entire bridge with very little Black participation, even in a minority majority county, such as Charles County. And a lot of the procurement processes are antiquated. They don't require any GOMA oversight, and they don't allow our individual minority business owners to participate. I have something else very near and dear to me called the 1619 Project I brought to Maryland, requiring that we change the way we teach Black history in Maryland, inclusive of all the struggles, not just the 4 great things called slavery, Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and now. And to fill in the blanks between all of that. I've worked with our veterans, trying to get rid of our robocalls, dealing with our nursing homes, felony murder bill, and I have a business relief bill. Basically, right now we have a lot of businesses that are closing. Unfortunately, those owners sign personal guarantees that to their leases. So although these businesses are closed, these people are losing their houses because that lease that they signed on that building that is now closed has a personal guarantee. So we're trying to find a way during this COVID emergency to protect our business owners by ensuring that those personal guarantees may be somewhat, solvent. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, plus a lot more. Sorry, Delegate Davis, because you'll see a lot of me. It's all judiciary, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I have Delegate Proctor. There was a conflict. She had to go to another meeting, but her Chief of Staff, Joe Kim, will provide information regarding her committee that she serves on. Joe?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you to all the delegation members. Unfortunately, as Chair Patterson said, Delegate Proctor had a prior schedule, and so she cannot make it. But Delegate Proctor for this session, she's continued to serve on Appropriations Committee. And also, she was recently appointed Chair of the Oversight Committee on Pensions. Also, she will continue to serve as the Vice Chair for the Public Safety and Administration Subcommittee. And also one of the main bills that, the main bill that she's pushing this session, it actually went before Judiciary on January 20th, is House Bill 305, which is Task Force on Missing Persons. As many of the members here know, that this is a very sensitive bill to Delegate Proctor because she actually has personal experience with family members, close friends, and it's very big, especially for those with dementia or Alzheimer's. And so she's hoping that this bill can really look into the process of missing persons in Maryland. There's a lot of confusion, miscommunication between police, hospitals, and families. And so creating that central administration for this can really be helpful to families who are going through this hard time. And so she looks forward to this session, and hopefully this will get a favorable report from the Judiciary Committee. And thank you so much for the time, and we just look forward to this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. You did a great job. Thank you for doing that. I serve on Ways and Means, which again is one of the more rigorous committees. We cover education issues, local revenues, whether it's taxes and election laws. I served this year as last year as a subcommittee on gaming and racing. And under this bill, we are looking at supporting the expansion of gaming licenses as a result of Amendment 2 that was passed 2020 with the general election. I'm particularly interested in making sure that MBEs or minorities will have really equity in terms of licensing for gaming and as we proceed with that. I'm also the sponsor of two bills that have to do with women veterans. One has to do with having or hosting 4 women veteran centers in Maryland, and other education bills. So that's what we're doing. It's a snapshot. We're very busy. We certainly have not missed a beat as a result of the pandemic. But I hope you know in Charles County, we're working very hard for you, and we cross really a broad spectrum in terms of representation on various committees and subcommittees. Okay, I believe we have in present Commissioner Bobby Rucci as well. And so now I'm going to give the opportunity for President Ruben Collins to make any statement or greetings on behalf of the county commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is Ruben Collins, President of the Charles County Board of Commissioners. I wanted to take this opportunity to recognize those members of the board that are present. You mentioned Commissioner Rucci, who represents District 4. I also saw Commissioner Coates. She represents District 2. And I understand Commissioner Bowling is on as well, who represents District 1.
Morning.
I would like to say thank you on behalf of the board for giving us opportunity to sit in on the meeting. I think this is consistent with the thoughts as we began this term to ensure that both bodies allowed opportunities through meetings leading up to the legislative session and certainly during the course to keep the board on the local level apprised of where you are with these very important initiatives, and certainly as we proceed to continue to work together, because that is a key element, and that's something that we certainly set as a goal starting off this term. So I just want to thank the delegation for this opportunity. We look forward to working with you directly, virtually, if you will. But certainly it provides an opportunity for us to continue to make the interests of Charles County citizens paramount to what we're attempting to do. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, President Collins, and welcome to everyone. We had the opportunity to listen to and to receive the information sent forward as a result of the hearings you had in 2020 on key issues that residents wanted to present and other agencies presented for us for consideration. The bills that you have that we're moving forward, you have a copy of them. But one question was persistent. And so I've asked Georgianne Carter, who's with the Department of Legislative Services, to be with us this morning to address or identify why some of the bills are identified as Southern Maryland, whereas others are Charles County delegation. And for the public, the way it works is that we receive the information from the county, and then we in turn remit the information to bill drafters. And so Ms. Carter represents a member of the bill drafting community, and we rely on you a lot. And we worked in tandem with the persons, whether it's the delegates who are sponsoring the bill or with the county, to make sure that it adheres to guidelines, state regulations, and also recommendations from the Attorney General's office. And I have to, before we leave out, recognize the work of the Chief of Staffs, because you do a lot of work for us, and for that we're very grateful. So now, Ms. Carter, would you provide information as to legislative services and the title of some of the bills that we have questions about?
Certainly. I'm sorry, I'm not used to Zoom, so I had to figure out where the mute button was. I'm Georgianne Carter. I work for Legislative Services. I'm one of their bill drafters, and one of my areas is local government. So the thing with Maryland counties is there's three types of Maryland counties. There's the commission counties, there's code home rule counties, and charter home rule counties. Now, counties who adopt home rule have certain powers that they can legislate on at a local level. And on those powers, then the General Assembly is limited as to how they can legislate for them under those subject areas. For code counties, if the General Assembly wants to legislate on something that may fall under their express powers, the powers that have been delegated to the county, the law has to apply equally to any code county in the class of code counties. There are 4 classes of code counties. It's based on geographic area. And in the Southern Maryland class, that's Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties. Having said that, in Charles County's case, they are the only county in that class that has adopted code home rule. So if a bill applies only to the code counties in the Southern Maryland class, that means it only applies to Charles County. It's a way of allowing the General Assembly to legislate on areas that they may not otherwise be able to legislate on. The downside of that, if it is a downside, is that if any other county in the Southern Maryland class decides to adopt code home rule, then those laws would then apply to them at that point in time. But since currently Charles County is the only code county in Southern Maryland, the laws that say that it applies to all code counties in Southern Maryland essentially means Charles County.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. And the reason, again, I asked her to come on is because you will see in some of the bills that we will put forward, some will say Charles County, whereas others will say, for example, we'll say Southern Maryland. For example, the Human Rights Commission, it says Southern Maryland. But again, we understand that. And are you able to stay on during the meeting, Ms. Carter? Great.
Certainly.
All right, we will move forward then. Crystal, do you want to display the bills? The first one, and some are finalized with an LL number and some are not. The first one is a proposal to amend Code Maryland. It's a Charles County delegation bill. It's a community service and pretrial release programs authorization. The status of this bill, it has been finalized and we are waiting for a blueback. For the public, a blueback simply means it has been agreed upon. The wording is appropriate and we just need to remit it for a hearing, okay? Crystal, do you have that?
I do. I'm sorry, what would you like me to do, Delegate?
If you have the chance to put the bills.
Oh, certainly.
Thank you.
Right now.
The second is a proposal to allow owners of small family farm wineries to also have an ownership interest in a small family-owned business establishment that sells alcohol. This is still in draft form, and but again, we have ironed out the wording for that, but it's just in draft form, and we're waiting for it to be sent back to us as a final draft. Okay. The third bill is a proposal for the creation of a civilian review board empowered to create oversight of police when instances of misconduct or complaints occur. This is also, we're waiting for the final draft, This bill was worked on, I believe, with the county and also with the NAACP, I believe in Delegate Davis. This is one of the bills you worked on for us. And again, there were some wordings that had to be modified, but again, it is ready for, it's in final draft. We're waiting for the final draft to come out. Okay. All right. The fourth bill is a Southern Maryland delegation, and it's entitled the Southern Maryland Human Rights Commission. And this is an example again of what I referenced when I said Southern Maryland. It's a proposal to establish a local human relations and civil rights commission where county residents can file a discrimination complaint, serve as a civil rights policy arm of the county government, and will be empowered to enforce local civil rights laws and shall direct its efforts and resources towards eliminating discriminatory practices within the county in the areas of housing, employment, law enforcement, education, public accommodations, commercial real estate, county government contracts, and any other facets of county citizen lives where practices may be found to exist. This is LR 2956. And I believe this had been worked on for several months, and it is finalized. Again, we're just waiting for the blue back of the final draft to be sent back so it can be filed. Okay. The fifth is authorizing Charles County to impose by local law, a fee on certain residential property owners for registration of their properties within a county in order to offer the properties for lease to residential tenants, authorizing fines be imposed on those property owners that do not adhere to the registration mandate, and also authorizes Charles County commissioners to adopt regulations relating to the operation of the registration program. Again, that final bill, it was finalized and it should be ready to go for submittal for the local bills. Okay. I believe those were all of the local Charles County bills that have moved forward. Were there any questions regarding the local bills and the process? Okay. And
I do have a question.
yes, Delegate Davis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. There are still some questions regarding, I don't know where to start. The Human Rights Commission. We've been having some discussion with the county regarding it, and we kind of get the impression that we might need to we might need to step back a moment on that, because what it appears as though we need to have a branch of the Maryland Commission of Civil Rights in Charles is what we really need. And I'm not sure legislation is the best way to handle it, because the legislation as written would give us the ability to set up our own Civil Rights Commission, which wouldn't include funding, it wouldn't include just investigators, it wouldn't include anything. We said we would back, my last conversation with council, with the county, was that we need to look into some other resolution, and I don't think we've come up with anything yet, but we need to talk about it some more. And pretrial, I'm not sure, Commissioner Collins, are we okay with the latest pretrial bill? I didn't take a look at it, the latest one that Delegate Patterson put up.
Yeah, I did get a chance to look at it. Still the only thing that I would suggest, just as I stated, with deliberations that were occurred during several meetings with the CJCC, or the committee that oversees jurisdiction over criminal justice in the county. The sheriff has made it clear that it was not necessarily his office's interest in actually overseeing and running a pretrial service program. So the language kind of implies that that is the case. A properly operating pretrial service would obviously include, the participation of the state's attorney's office. In addition, the actual judiciary, because they would have to be in line with actually putting in motion, the actual interests of the program itself. And so one of the things I was suggesting is the language would kind of be steered more towards it being, a partnership with, those important criminal justice entities, the judiciary, the sheriff's office, and the state's attorney's office, and perhaps even the public defender's office. But I don't know if that would be necessarily appropriate. But I think just having those players, because everyone recognizes the importance of pretrial services. And so there's a recognition that that buy-in is extremely important, that you want to have your state's attorney's office, aligned with the implementation of, pretrial services.
Are you suggesting that you want this, because right now, are you pulling the bill or pulling it back? Do you want us to move it forward and then do the amendments once this comes back to us? Because the whole process is you want to make sure that it's not so late in the session that it does not go forward at all.
Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
My chief of staff, Ms. Young, has already submitted amendments, and, well, you have submitted amendments. Somebody submitted amendments. And in general, the conversation is around just giving Charles County enabling legislation to allow them to set up pretrial as they see fit. That seems to be the barrier that we need to overcome, just allowing it. And then the commissioners could establish it as they see fit. So that's where we are. If Ms. Young wants to update me on the status of that, that would be nice, but we could do it. We could update you later. But
so you want enabling versus authorization?
Yes, we just want to have enabling legislation to allow us to do it. And then I have a question for Ms. Carter, if this is the time. Ms. Carter, if this is the appropriate time?
Yes.
Do you see, Ms. Carter, do you see any problems with that? Just enabling legislation to allow us to do pretrial. I know Howard County did it two sessions ago. Prince George's has it.
No.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Chair, if I could ask a couple other questions for Ms. Carter, since I have her.
Absolutely.
Who establishes the classes? What groups are put together? Do you know that?
The General Assembly did by legislation. It's in the local government article, section 9302.
So the General Assembly could change that?
Absolutely.
Do you know offhand whether we could be in a class of our own?
I don't know that. I'd have to go back. The requirement for the classes is actually set in the Constitution. So
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look and see what that exactly says.
Okay. And lastly, Ms. Carter, so when we hear these bills in our local Southern Maryland delegation, there's going to be concern with the bill's title saying Southern Maryland delegation. Can you submit something to us that we can use when we go into those meetings that says it only applies to Charles County because of the way we're set up, and it only becomes enabling legislation for them?
Should be able to, yeah.
Thank you so much. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's why she's here, and we recognize that would be an issue. Thank you very much, Delegate Davis. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to sort of piggyback on what Delegate Davis mentioned regarding the Human Relations Commission. With council on board, the question is, again, Southern Maryland Delegation is the headliner. And because of the way Charles County is set up, is established, will we perceive or any challenges going forward with this piece of legislation, because Calvert and St. Mary's are commission forms. And so is there anything we need to do to make sure that we have a smooth hearing process?
I'm not sure how the hearing would go, to be honest, but it's actually not Southern Maryland Delegation. It's the Southern Maryland Code Counties. These are all actually sponsored by the Charles County Delegation. And, you know, basically that is the big thing to just keep telling them, is that it only applies to the code counties. It does not apply to commission counties. It's unfortunate that commission counties and code counties both have commissioners, if you will. It sounds like it's the same, but it's really, but in terms of the type of county they are, it's completely different. So, you know, St. Mary, okay. Calvert, they do not have home rule powers.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the reason for the members that I bring that up, having sat on the Appropriations Committee, oftentimes, you know, we get delegation, documentation from delegations, and that's something that we'll be mindful going forward. I'll make sure I speak to Senator Delegate Proctor regarding that, because some of these bills will come through there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Jackson. And I'm going to, next is Delegate Wilson, but maybe that's something we can discuss at the Southern Maryland Delegation meeting.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Clarity. Okay. Delegate Wilson.
Well, Madam Chair, that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Is Chair of the delegation, we have, to the blessing of God and everybody, plenty of lawyers on Southern Maryland Delegation, as well as throughout the General Assembly. And I think we can explain this once, because my whole point was going to be, we don't have to ask them nothing, because I'm not proposing it. It may say Southern Maryland, we can explain it, but the only time they would find out if we brought it to their attention. Because I didn't plan on any of our bills getting proposed to the Southern Maryland Delegation. But I will, for the sake of peace, because I don't want Senator Bulldog Ellis, start swinging and fighting. I will go ahead and say that I'll clarify, but I'm not going to continue to. I'm not going to keep explaining the law. We'll do it one time, because Delegate Patterson is the one proposing the legislation. Should be clarification enough that it ain't got nothing to do with him. So that was my point on that. But for peace, we can't have too many fighters in the room. I will say it one time. Secondly, when it comes to pretrial, this isn't rocket science. All right, we're one of the few counties that don't do this. I don't understand why we're talking about all these people we need to include. We need to look at a model, say that's the one we're going for. If the state attorney doesn't agree with it, well, God bless him, get on board. Because there are plenty, the fact it's an embarrassment to me, especially as a defense attorney, to walk around into Charles County and feel like I'm going back to the 1800s. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think this is rocket science. If Delegate Deborah Davis thinks that enabling legislation is better, that's fine. I would have gone with authorizing a legislation to get this up and moving, because what I don't want is to be dragging our feet for 3 more years, because that's my worry. I forgot his title. Collins, Commissioner President Collins. The more people you invite, the more hands you have stirring a pot, the less chance of anything actually cooking. And my worry is when we keep inviting all these non sequiturs that basically work for you, that are funded by us, we're going to have this slow process that 2 years later, we won't have anything. So my point would be, I would rather have authorizing legislation. I will defer to Delegate Davis since it's our committee, but this can't be taken forever. We don't need opinions. We've already got, we've got proof. We've got several counties that have already done this very successfully. We're not creating anything new. So that's my 2 cents, guys.
Thank you for your 2 cents and more. Thank you, Delegate Wilson. I see a raised hand with Daniel Mitchell with the county government. Ms. Mitchell, do you have a question? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Delegate Patterson? Okay, thank you for allowing me to ask a question. I think this is directed at Ms. Carter, and it's kind of a question, sort of an observation, but I would, just on the issue of the code home rule, I would imagine that Charles County elected to become code home rule to give it more autonomy and more authority over making certain decisions with respect to its own local code. But we find ourselves, I think, particularly with respect to that, the rental license bill, for example. That's a bill that I believe we need General Assembly authority to act in order for us to charge fines and fees and sort of develop this scheme of, and by scheme, I just mean a schedule of fines and fees, various things that I think we do need General Assembly authority to do. However, it sort of presents a conundrum because we are code home rule that we now have to, I don't know if it's engaged the other Southern Maryland counties necessarily, and I hear Delegate Wilson saying that they just need to understand and move on. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is when we became code home rule, it was with the intent, I believe, to have more autonomy over what it is that we do. But now we're in a position where bills have to be drafted to state the Southern Maryland class, which necessarily implicates St. Mary's and Calvert. Am I misunderstanding? And again, specific with respect to that rental licensing bill, the intention is for us to have a licensing program to be able to charge fees and fines, but now we have to engage Calvert and St. Mary's?
Bill drafters and the will go to the Attorney General's office when they're not sure whether a county has authority, a home rule has authority to enact something for themselves, or whether the General Assembly can enact it for them. And if there's any uncertainty for code counties particularly, because the Constitution is, shall I say, a little fuzzy as to what a public local law is in terms of code counties. If we are at all concerned that there might be questions as to whether a county has authority to do this or not, and it's a code county, for safety's sake, if you will, to make sure that it is constitutional, we will put it into the class that it has to apply to every county in the class, particularly with either Charles County or Allegheny County, which are the two code counties that are the only counties in their classes. So that's one reason that we might draft to a class of code home rule, is if we're not absolutely certain that it's not part of their express powers.
Thank you very much, Ms.
We're certain
Carter.
that it's, I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought you had completed. We should be moving on a little bit. Ms. Mitchell, if that doesn't answer your question, certainly we will give you the contact information from Ms. Carter. And I'd like to acknowledge GS Proctor and Associate persons who are online. We work closely with them, with the bills and with any kind of legislative issue. Delegate Wilson, is your hand up again?
I took it down, Madam Chair. I got you.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. I hope that answered most of the questions that that were raised or concerned. But again, Ms. Carter, we really want to thank you for being here today and for answering the questions, and also in the future for providing information that we can use possibly with the other delegation, county delegations. Okay, moving on. We have the legislative bond initiatives, in place. We were advised within the governor's budget, there are no funds for bond initiatives. Surprise, surprise. So we have several initiatives from the county regarding nonprofits and agencies that we have vetted, and we're moving forward with them. I'd like to again thank Crystal Netley Green for helping with this and getting this out, and also with the GS Proctor persons for assisting with them with this. When you think of money, I asked Senator Ellis if he would provide information regarding funding, potential funding, because we're looking at all sources to get funds for our county, because that's why you want us here, to fight for those dollars. And he's done a great job in terms of looking at various avenues for us to consider. Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues again. So we have to remember the state of Maryland has a budget approaching $50 billion every year. And that's the operating budget. There are other, how should I say, pots of money through the capital budget and through, of course, transportation funds. So, you know, we have quite a few sources and quite a bit of money that we collect from the citizens, which is to return to the communities to make our communities better. And so I'm honored to serve on a kind of remote committee called the program Open Space and Agricultural Land Preservation. And I found no matter what I'm assigned, God is telling me there's an opportunity in there. So I keep my eyes open. I looked around and voila, guess what I discovered? Millions of dollars come to Charles County every year through the program Open Space program. The program Open Space collects, I think, 1% from transfer taxes, like you sell real estate. Any real estate that's sold, you pay transfer taxes on that. Program Open Space get 1% of that, and that program has been around since 1969, I believe. So every year, millions come to the county. We had a meeting, my office hosted a meeting in the fall, last fall, with the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, DNR. They're the ones who administer the program along with the counties. And he announced Charles County has around $6 million waiting at the state to come for our projects, waiting for the right priorities to come. So I must say I was quite perplexed as why our major population area, Waldorf, 74,000 people, I believe, in Waldorf or urban core, there are 0 parks, not a pocket park, a neighborhood park, many parks, no parks in that area considered Waldorf. It's a shame. And program Open Space is meant to put parks in communities like Waldorf. So we have $6 million sitting at the state ready for this. And I must say that since I serve on the Education, Health, Environment Committee, DNR, Department of Natural Resources, is a committee that need us to approve quite a bit of their legislation. So I have a oversized say on what happens with that department and their issues. So they're working with me, not because they like me, I hope they do, but because, you know, they need my vote on committee on a lot of their bills. So that's important. And I just would like to bring that to attention to the commissioners to say that, you know, the plan that's going on now, I'm not sure why it's named this, but there's a Waldorf Park in the planning stage in the county, but it's like an hour-and-a-half walk from central Waldorf. You know, it's impossible for our kids to walk there. It's in Bryantown. And so we need to rethink that with the new movement in economic and health and environmental justice. We need to really rethink that as a county, be responsible and accountable for all our citizens to be fair and put resources in the communities, all communities. And so we have to look at that. So like I said, $6 million available in that pot. that's in addition to the bond money we have for the projects that Delegate Patterson referred to. And so, of course, the governor said there's no money in his budget for it, but with the capital budget, we can put money in, and we will put money into these projects that we have approved as a Charles County delegation. Projects for to fund, let me see, the Hospice of Charles County, projects for the Addie Thomas Community Center, projects for the Historic Will and Helper Society, projects like the Lions Camp Merit to help fix their pool, which they host a lot of kids during normal years for summer camp, kids with diabetes, hearing, sight loss, Western Charles County Community Association children, just a great place, Lions Camp Merit. Also bond bill for, I hope I mentioned, didn't forget any, I think American Legion Post 170. And so we will find the money for those. And so I hope I didn't forget any. But anyway, if I did, Madam Chair will kind of fill that in for me. So we will find the money for that to get some funds. So all these great community groups, been around a long time in our counties. And most of these community groups never got a penny from the state. American Legion, we're looking at Will and Helpers, been there over 100 years helping the community. And so we're looking to change that dynamic and support those bills. And so we have other streams of funds available. And I just want us to work well with the county to make sure all these funds that's coming into Charles County are properly distributed, equitably distributed. We as a delegation, we are determined to make sure that happens. And again, I could go on, but I think you've got a taste of what we are working on up here in Annapolis for our citizens in Charles County.
Thank you very much, Senator Ellis, for doing that, because we had talked privately about additional funds. This has been really a very informative meeting. And before we close out, we will have comments from Rachel Jones and Jayla Noni. But I want to give a thanks again to the hard work of our Chief of Staffs, Joy Jones, Jonathan Clinkscales, Maisha Young, Joe Kim, and of course, Crystal Green. Thank you so much for all that you do. Now, Ms. Rachel Jones and Jalen, if you would provide information just briefly regarding both Senator Cardin and Senator Van Hollen. Good morning.
Sure. Good morning to the entire Charles County delegation. Jalen is representing Senator Van Hollen and I, Senator Cardin. I know that the senator was invited to meet with the Tri-County Council last night and also briefed the Southern Maryland delegation this morning. We are also in this season where at the beginning of session, I usually come and meet with each of you to discuss what your individual priorities are for this session. And so I know that some of us have already begun those meetings, but we have reached out, Jalen and I, conjunctively to begin to coordinate those meetings with your staff. But certainly this meeting has been informative, hearing you all talk about some of your individual bills as well. And so as a result of our meeting with Delegate Patterson earlier this week, she did invite us to give you a more in-depth briefing on the funding that specifically came to the state of Maryland. And in some areas, we have some specific numbers for exactly how much funding went to Charles County as a result of the last omnibus and COVID relief package. And so Jalen and I, so that we are not redundant, are going to tag team and give this presentation together. Jalen.
Yep, and it's a pleasure to meet each of you. I realize I've had the pleasure of coordinating either with your staff or you respectively over the past couple of months, but just as this is your first delegation meeting for the session, this is my very first. So I appreciate working with each of you on the behalf of the county and the senator.
Okay, so I'll begin with direct constituent relief. Most of you already know economic impacts payments went out to taxpayers, individual payments of $600 plus payments for qualifying child of $600 as well. And so we anticipate that with continuing conversations about COVID relief. We know that there is a talk of $2,000 stimulus payments in the near future. And so we wait to see what will happen with that. But if you have constituents who are reaching out to say that they have not yet received a stimulus that they believe they were eligible for, please continue to reach out to our offices and let us know so that we can try to help facilitate making sure that folks get those benefits that they're waiting for. And in addition to that, Jalen and I will be sending an email to the delegation that gives you a breakdown. Senator Cardin has a 17-page breakdown that we've condensed to give this presentation to you today. And Van Hollen has a more simplified 2-page version that's a little bit easier to digest. But we'll be sending you both of those so that you have the specific details on the points that we're going to make today. Unemployment insurance extension was one of the provisions of the omnibus. It extended unemployment benefits for 10 weeks so that the supplemental federal unemployment insurance benefits will provide that additional $300 per week for those who were eligible to assist unemployed Marylanders on top of their state unemployment insurance payments. And that's been extended from 39 weeks to 50 weeks. So applicants can receive those benefits for up to 50 weeks. Galen?
Thank you very, very much. And I see you have provided a website, a link. Jalen?
Yes, Madam Chair. I provided the link to one of the 2 fact sheets that Ms. Jones was just alluding to, and we will definitely share it again so that you all have it. But I wanted to provide it here in case anyone wanted to follow along as we're briefing.
I appreciate that very much. Before we close out, I'm looking at the bottom and I see that we were joined by Commissioner Amanda Stewart. Good morning, Commissioner Stewart, to you as well. This concludes the first Charles County delegation meeting, very comprehensive, a lot of information. But again, please reach out to us should you have follow-up questions. From listening to the Chief of Staffs, we're getting a lot of inquiries and requests regarding unemployment benefits. So our next delegation meeting will center around what constituents can do regarding unemployment benefits. And because again, this is an issue we continually are faced with from the interim all the way through the current time. So again, I want to wish all of you Godspeed and thank you for joining us this morning. Goodbye.